A young woman runs through the city streets, trying to escape an unknown entity. Realizing she can't outrun it, she decides to bid farewell and calls her parents. She reaches the beach, where her mutilated body is found the next morning. Soon, the focus shifts to college student Jay. One day, her friends invite her to watch a movie with them, but she declines, needing to prepare for a long-awaited date with a guy named Hugh. Hugh is an attractive young man who seemed nice to Jay. However, at the theater, he spots a girl in a yellow dress, unbeknownst to Jay. It strikes her as odd, but she dismisses it. After their first date, Jay returns home and shares her experiences with her sister, Kelly. As the second date approaches, they decide to give in to passion in Hugh's car. However, Jay feels differently, and she finds it strange. She confides in her new boyfriend, but Hugh unexpectedly renders her unconscious with chloroform. When Jay wakes up, she finds herself in an abandoned building, tied to a chair and unable to move. Hugh, her failed lover, explains the reason behind his actions. He was under a terrible curse, causing a relentless creature to pursue him. To escape the monster, he would pass the curse onto someone else. The girl in the yellow dress from their first date was, in fact, the very creature. If it catches up with its target and kills, the only way to survive is to pass the curse onto another by sleeping with them. However, getting rid of it permanently is impossible. If the current victim dies, the entity will return for the previous target. Initially, the protagonist dismisses Hugh's words as nonsense, thinking him insane. However, this is precisely why he brings her to the building, to show her the monster. Within minutes, she notices a naked woman slowly approaching on the street. Hugh puts Jay in the car and takes her to a house, where he leaves her and drives away. Jay recounts everything to her sister and friends, prompting them to involve the police. Law enforcement goes to the address that Jay has listed as Hugh's residence, but finds that neither Hugh nor the naked woman is there. Jay continues her normal life and attends classes. During the lecture, she feels strange and soon notices a creature in the window that is turned into an elderly woman. Realizing the creature is coming for her, Jay grabs her belongings and hastily leaves the classroom. However, in the corridor, she spots her pursuer. Panicking, she screams, but those around her see nothing. Horrified, Jay reaches home and once again shares her problem with her friends. Concerned, her friends Paul and Yar decide to stay overnight at her house to support her. Jay, unable to sleep, goes to the living room to talk to Paul. Paul, who has long been in love with Jay, tries to cheer her up with funny stories from their past. Just as Jay forgets her troubles, the sound of breaking glass interrupts them. Someone has broken a window in the kitchen, likely roaming the house. Paul rushes upstairs to wake the others, while Jay decides to investigate. Moments later, she sees the creature in the form of a woman still heading towards her. With a scream, she runs into the room with the others and recounts everything, but they cannot see what she sees. Unable to understand her, the friends struggle to comprehend the situation. After some time, the creature enters the bedroom again, but now in a different form. Fearing for her life, Jay flees the house. The friends find her at a playground, attempting to figure out their next move. Soon, Jay spots their neighbor Greg, but hesitates, fearing it might be the creature again. However, Greg is genuine, offering help upon learning about the situation. He rushes his car to pick up the friends and take them far away. They end up at the old house of the guy who passed the curse to Jay. Among adult magazines, they find a photo of Hugh, providing a starting point for their search. The group wants to locate Hugh and inquire about the creature, leading them to his old school. They manage to find information in the archives and get his real address. On site, Jay and the others ask Hugh, whose real name turns out to be something else, to share more about the pursuing monster. It all began after he slept with a stranger from a club, realizing that the one you sleep with becomes the pursued. If the new victim dies, the creature reverts to targeting the previous one again. That's why he started dating Jay and got close to her. The guy reveals that the monster is quite intelligent, never rushes, and seems to relish in this slow pursuit. He apologizes and advises Jay to pass on the curse to someone else, but she refuses to expose her loved ones to such danger. In search of a safe place, Greg takes the group to his parents' house by the lake, where he teaches Jay to shoot a revolver for self-defense. He believes this skill will make her feel more confident and less fearful. The group sits on the beach, and suddenly Jay's hair stands on end. She tries to fend off the entity, but all attempts are futile. At this moment, Paul comes to the rescue, grabs a chair, and smashes it against the invisible back of the entity. Nonetheless, this buys enough time for Jay and the others to hide in the house. They lock the door, but the creature still manages to enter the room. Deciding not to wait for her friends, Jay steals Greg's car and drives in an unknown direction. Moments later, she loses control, ends up in a cornfield, and loses consciousness. Jay wakes up in a hospital, discovering she has a broken arm. She cautiously looks around but sees nothing suspicious. Her friends begin to believe Jay's words, as Paul even has bruises from attempting to save her. However, Greg remains skeptical. To prove to the others that the monster doesn't exist, he decides to have sex with Jay. For several days, Greg sees no sign of the entity, and everyone begins to think Jay made up the monster. But things are more complicated. One day, Jay looks out and sees someone breaking a window in Greg's house. Realizing it's the entity, she rushes to help her friend. Standing outside his room, she notices Greg's half-naked mother, who turns out to be a monster. Jay tries to warn her friend, but is too late. Greg opens the door, and the creature attacks him, brutally killing him. After some time, Paul tries to understand why Jay chose to pass the curse to Greg, as they both were in love with her. However, realizing that the entity is once again pursuing Jay, Paul suggests they sleep together. Jay refuses. The next day, the group devises a plan to permanently kill the creature. They end up in a large pool, with Jay luring the monster into the water. Meanwhile, the others throw electrified devices into the pool, hoping to electrocute it. Jay sees the monster in the water, but her friends don't. With the help of the sheep, they manage to locate it, and Paul shoots it. However, the creature is not so easy to kill. Jay tries to surface, but finds herself held by its grip. Paul continues shooting, and eventually, he hits the creature. Jay resurfaces, witnessing the pool water gradually turning red. The guys think they've finally killed the otherworldly creature. Soon, Paul and Jay make love, and afterward, they try to understand if anything has changed. However, neither of them feels any different. After some time, Paul gets into his car and drives around the city, looking for prostitutes just in case they didn't manage to kill the monster. Yet, he doesn't dare to stop. And now, Jay and Paul walk hand in hand down the street, with a silhouette following closely behind them.